In this short video, we're going to look at the SolidCAM and what it can do. So I'm going to begin with just making a new part. So we're making a part from scratch. I actually still have a template that we worked on before, so I'll start with that template. Once we have that open, I'm going to go to, let's go to the top plane here, and we'll make a new part. So I'll make a center rectangle box that has a dimension of index card. Oops. I got into the... So 5 inches by 3 inches. The purpose of doing this is I'm going to write some text and then turn the text into G code, and I'd like to be relatively close to what would fit on an index card. So I'm starting with an index card kind of as a blank. Exit the sketch. I'm going to go ahead and extrude. Now I know how I'm going to be touching off with the G code. We're going to be touching on the top surface, so the thickness really doesn't matter. I'm going to make it 1/4 of an inch, but the purpose of the 1/4 inch is just to make sure that there's enough material to see that I've removed something. So we'll go ahead and save this part. So I just saved it to a known location. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and put some text on it that we're going to turn into G code. Before I open SolidCAM, it's good practice to be finished with the part as much as I possibly can be. So I've created a new sketch on the top surface, and I'm going to begin with a curved center point arc. So watch the directions here. It's going to show me that what I need to do is click on 2 points. So what I want to do is first to center somewhere down below here. Then we'll start here and draw that way. That wasn't at all the direction I wanted it to go. We'll constrain it so it looks right. This is going to be a path that's going to control my text. So what I need to do is, before I begin moving it too much, I want to take this point here and make it directly below the center point. So I used Control to select them both, and now I'll use the vertical constraint to constrain it. And then I'm going to go ahead and give it a dimension. So the dimension here, let's let that be about 4 inches. I think that will work fairly well. And then now what I want to do is I want to constrain the arc so that it is on the note card. So I just drug it so that it was a little bit above this edge. Now that it's above this edge, I'll dimension to that location here. And I want that to be 0.2. Okay, and then now I'll hit escape. I'm going to bring this other point around. Every time I do something, I'm getting more and more control of the part. So this is closer to what I'm wanting it to look like. Matter of fact, now that it's close enough, I'll take this point and this point, Control selecting both, and let them be horizontal to each other. And now if I take this outside point, I hit escape. I'm going to now drag it in. There we go. That's where I want it to be. One more dimension should be able to take care of it from the edge here to this point, and I'll let this be 0.2 as well. And now we've fully constrained that curve. One other thing, now that I have the curve fully constrained, I'll click on it and I'll click For Construction. I don't want this to show up in the final sketch. So this is to bound my text. I want my text to revolve around that. So now that I've done that, let me go ahead and create some text. For the curves, I'm going to use this curve that I created, and the text will say Hello World. You can see it down here at the bottom. It's too small. We'll fix that in just a minute. It is going the correct direction. Let me center it. So there's the center button there. And also, if your text shows up the wrong direction, you can reverse which side it's on. You can reverse whether it's left or right. This is the correct way for me, so I'll leave it like that. And I'm going to uncheck the Use Document Font. We'll go into the font. I don't know that I need to change the Century Gothic, but I am going to make it bigger. Let's make this about 0.4 inches in height. So I'll click OK. That made it a lot taller. Maybe we can go a little bit more than that. So we'll try one more time, maybe 0.45. I don't want to be so close to the edge that I'm not able to print like I need to when the time comes. So this now fully constrains the sketch. This is a bug that's been in SolidWorks for a long time. Text doesn't show up as fully constrained, and even when I exit the sketch, you'll notice there's still a minus sign there. That's typical of the text in SolidWorks. Now that it's here, we can do an extruded cut. So I will do that. I'll do extruded cut. I'm going to choose the sketch I just created, sketch 2. And it recognizes that's what it needs to do. I'm going to go down just a little bit. The point of this is to use this to make G-code that will then be used with a pin plotter to write. And I've decided that about 50 thousandths is deep enough. So my plan is to take the pin and orient it exactly on the top face of the card, of the index card. And then that'll be my 0. And then my cutting depth will be in the negative, and it'll be 50 thousandths less than that. So I'm going to let this depth be 0.05 to illustrate that depth of cut. So if we zoom in here, we can see it's going to go down there just a little bit. Okay. I've made a pin holder that has compliance built into it, so it actually won't do that. It won't go in that deep, but because the compliance of the pin holder will just apply pressure to the top of the page. But that's as much drop as I want it to do. Now that that's the case, I'll go ahead and save this. And now that we've saved it, we can go into SolidWorks CAM. I have turned off all of the add-ins that come pre-loaded. So I need to go to the add-ins button, and I'll scroll down to go to SolidCAM 2024. Notice this is what's currently turned on, and this is the startup column. I'm wanting to turn it on now, so I'll click the check mark and click OK. And it's going to take it a minute to load. When it loads, where my mouse is located, I'll have some new tabs that are present. All right, those tabs are there, and I'm going to save again so we can begin fresh. Now I'll go into SolidWorks CAM, and the first thing it's going to ask me to do is define a machine. I'm basically going to start in this top left corner and start walking down until I've done everything that I need to do. So the first thing I'm doing is defining a machine. When I click on it, the dialog pops up here. And I do want to have a 3-axis mill. We can choose what the tool crib looks like. I'm going to take the default tool crib. We're not actually going to load the tool that we say we're going to use, but I am going to use that. And I'll change the duty to light duty. This will decrease the speeds and feeds that it gives. Let's take a look at the post processor. That's fine. The posting, that's fine. Setup, that all looks okay. And we don't have a rotary axis or a tilt axis. So that's all we need to change here. So I'll click OK. We now have a machine created. The next thing I need to do is set up a coordinate system. So I'll click the coordinate system button. We come in, and where I want, notice the coordinate system is put on the origin, directing in the same direction that I drew my part. Unfortunately, this isn't correct. I actually want the origin to be located at this top corner, or the bottom left-hand corner of the index card on the top of the index card. So I'll click here to begin. All mills operate where up and down is the Z direction. So I want up and down to be the Z direction. It's currently set where up and down is the Y direction. So I'll click on the Z axis, and then I'll click any line that's pointed in the Z axis direction. So this line will work. When it did that, it made it now has Z located the correct direction, but it's going, or the correct orientation, but it's going the wrong direction. So I'll flip the direction. Positive Z should be going up. And taking a look, this makes my coordinate system correct. Positive X is going to the right, positive Y is going away from me, and positive Z is going up. This is standard axis orientation for a CNC mill. So we'll click OK. We now have a coordinate system set up. The next thing I need to do is set up stock. So I'll click the stock button, and it is set to being a bounding box. It's setting it to be aluminum, so we can change that, although this won't have a lot of application for what we're doing. This is really just controlling speeds and feeds, and we're going to be limited by our pin plotter about how fast it can go. So no matter what I put here for speed and feed, we're really going to be bound by what the settings of our pin plotter are set to. But I'll go ahead and choose a plastic. And then bounding box, it's collected the whole thing. That is what we want. So we'll click the check mark. We've now established where the raw material is. So we've got a coordinate system. We have stock. The next thing to do is setup, but I actually can do setup while I'm establishing my first part. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do it a 2.5 axis mill operation. I'll click there. That'll open up a wizard to help me. The first thing I need to know is I'm wanting a pin plotter to trace the letters H, etc. So this will be a contour mill. What we're doing is we're following the contour of the letters. So that's the first setting that I need to make. The second setting is the tool. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch ball nose. That's the smallest shape, and it has a ball nose. Just that's going to make the display as we view it the closest to what it ought to look like. So we'll take that tool. And then when we go into the features here, I can't do a feature yet. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Create Features button. And it's going to be a 2.5 axis feature. And the first thing it does is it tells me I need to do a new setup. I haven't done a setup yet. I'm going to click the top face, and what this is saying is that we're going to approach from the top face in the negative Z direction. That is correct. So that is our new setup, and it'll be on that face as shown. So we can go ahead and click the new feature here. And now I've gone into a new feature within that new setup. Okay, so the first thing I'll do here is I'll change this to be an engrave feature. The engrave feature allows me to follow the center of the letters here. And if you notice, before I did engrave, let me go back to Pocket. The only available sketch is sketch 1 because that's the only closed profile. But when I go to engrave, sketch 2 is now available. That is the one I want, and it's tracing the hello world now, so it's found the text from sketch 2. So that's great. That's exactly what I wanted. We need to establish an end condition, so I'll go to the end condition. And I don't want it to be, I want it to be blind, but not through all. There's a couple of different ways we could do this. I want it to go down 5/1000ths of an inch, but I'm going to do it by choosing up to face, and I'll zoom way in and choose this inside face. Any one of the faces inside the letters would have worked. Notice it established as being 5/1000ths of an inch because that's how deep we plunged it when we did our extrusion. Let's take a look if there's anything else. Okay. We've got our end conditions set, so I'll go ahead and click OK. And now both of them are there. So we have the setup as well as the engrave feature within the setup. So I can click the check mark to click OK. And we've arrived. We're now in the correct location. It's got some option parameters that it opens up for me. The first one is the tool. I will leave the tool alone, but there are some of these that we need to change. By the way, this is showing the display of what it'll look like in the feedback. So if you wanted really good animation, you can change exactly what these look like, where they're located. For us, we're not going to need to do very much of that. For speeds and feeds, we're coming in at 25% for Z and 75%. That's going to be fine. Like I said before, this is actually going to be reduced by our motors themselves. Grbl is already set to have a maximum speed, so we can't go any faster than that anyway. As far as the contour looking, we're going to do it all in a single cut. But if we needed to do multiple cuts, we could change the first cut amount 50%, 50%, and then finally 0 inches for the final cut is what it's currently set to. But there are other values here that we can do. So contour is okay. NC rapid plane is the top of stock. This defaults to 1 inch. That's probably too much for us. We can do this in millimeters. I would like to be riding about 10 millimeters above the surface, and then we'll say the top of the clearance plane is 0.1 inch. That probably is okay, so we'll leave that one alone. So 10 millimeters is the top of the stock, and we'll leave it as 0.1 inch for the top of the feature. Next thing we need to do is feature options. Let's take a look here. We're doing an engrave. We don't need to change anything here. For our lead-in, we do need to change the lead-in. This has an arc lead-in. In other words, this is where we're actually going to be cutting, and it's going to get close, and it's going to do this kind of swoopy thing. I'm going to change it from arc to none. So we'll have no lead-in at all. This will make make it look correctly right when we start off. Basically, otherwise, there would be some cut that's happening inside the letter that would show up as an ink mark that's kind of a random spot inside each letter. We can go to advanced, first cut from the top of the feature, so everything is okay there. Posting, that's okay. Optimize, that's okay. So all that looks good. I'm going to click the OK button. And from here, we're ready to generate a toolpath. We've now set everything up. So we have our contour mill under the first setup. So we'll generate toolpath, and it's walking through that. Now that the toolpath has been generated, we could simulate it if you'd like to look at it. So the yellow, or the brownish color, orange, shows where material is the blanket has not yet been cut away. If I begin playing, you can see the machine come in. I've got it being played really quickly, so it's making the letters. It's tracing basically outside and inside of both letters. That all looks correct. Typically I would take longer to look at this, but I've already done it a couple of times, so I'm pretty confident that's what it ought to be. So that looks good. I'm happy with my simulation. If you zoom in here, you can actually see that if we were really doing an engrave feature, there would be some extra material here that didn't get quite cut away. But for what we're doing with Pin Plotter, that'll be just fine. So we'll click OK. I'm happy with the simulation, so I'm ready to post-process. So I'll click the post-process. First thing it's going to do is ask me where do I want to save it. I'm going to save it as name card, so that's good. Save that here. And now I can go step by step. So these are all the commands, or I can just hit the final button, the fast forward button, and it'll do it all. Okay, now that it has done it, it actually has completed the post process. So the next thing for me to do is to open up the actual text file. There's a couple of changes. There's 4 changes maybe that we need to make. So I'll show you what those are, and then we'll be ready to load it in cncjs. So what I'm doing is I'm browsing to the location where I saved that file. So keep up with where you saved it. This one was called namecard.txt. Namecard.txt. So I've got that pulled up here. And the first thing, grbl doesn't understand program names. That's what this one is. So you can do it 2 ways. You can either put it in parentheses like this, or what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the whole thing. I'll delete that first line. So that's the first thing it doesn't know. The second thing it doesn't know is it doesn't know the tool changer. It's going to pause and tell you to change tools. I don't want it to do that, so I'll hit the delete button. The third thing is the spindle. It doesn't know how to turn the spindle on, so we'll delete line 6. Now I'm going to hit enter twice just to remind me that 5 and 6 went before 7, that I did delete something there. And this last one, this G43, has to do with a tool offset. grbl won't need the tool offset. We're not using it, so we need to delete that one as well. So we've deleted G0, and then now we've deleted 4, 5, and 8. And that should be it. The rest of it should be okay. This is the G code that was created for that hello world command. You can see most of them are X, just G1 commands. So start at a G1, and then you're doing lots of X1 and 2 movements for tracing that path. So that's it, and we're ready now to upload this into our cncjs.